Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Secretary, for being with us today.
Thank you.
I'd just like to reiterate what Chairman Causer mentioned about, I'm not going to read the list of items again, but I was kind of disappointed to see those items taken out of the budget. It kind of harkens back. Governor Wolf said that it was going to be a new day, a new way to do business in Pennsylvania, and this just harkens back to the old way of doing business when those line items, which are proven programs that work, are as part of a budget taken out, and it makes me think that we're back to playing the old budget game the way a previous governor used to play it. But we'll look forward to work with you on those programs and see about getting them restored to at least their previous level. But what I wanted to talk to you about as the current chairman of the Pennsylvania delegation of the Chesapeake Bay Commission, wanted to ask you what you see in this current budget that supports the Chesapeake Bay strategy. And I just want to kind of preface that by saying that DEP has always been kind of tasked to lead the Chesapeake Bay effort, which encompasses half of the land in Pennsylvania is in the Susquehanna River watershed. And I understand why DEP kind of has been in the lead, but agriculture has been identified and as the main contributor of the sediment and nitrogen and phosphorus that flow into the Susquehanna ultimately into the bay. And I'm just wondering what you think we can do to work with agriculture. The last thing the legislature wants to do, especially a legislator like myself from rural Pennsylvania, agricultural Pennsylvania, is have to do anything that would hurt agriculture as we're trying to move forward in this effort. And I think that we need to develop a strategy for Pennsylvania. We've spent billions of dollars updating sewer treatment plants. Hey, that was a great thing. We're now working on stormwater. That's a great thing, but it's not going to get us where we need to be in Chesapeake Bay. And I'm just wondering if you have some ideas on how we can work together, if there's things that are in this budget to move us forward in there, if there's things you think we as a legislature need to do to help agriculture move forward with best management practices. We've identified, I think when I was meeting with Chesapeake Bay staff the other day, there's more than 100 BMPs on the list now that are available, and a lot of them are not high-cost items. And I think that we just need to work to educate and incentivize our farmers, and just wonder your perspective and how you think we can do that together.
Representative, thank you both for your question, but also your service on the Chesapeake Bay Commission and chairing that. Not an easy task. The Chesapeake Bay, certainly we understand that half the fresh water flowing in the Chesapeake Bay is out of Pennsylvania, as you note. 41 counties in PA, they're in this watershed. 2/3 of Pennsylvania farmers are in this watershed, 40,000 Pennsylvania farms. It is a monumental task. It's also right through the heart of production agriculture in Pennsylvania. So all of those things are factors that have got to be considered in this Chesapeake Bay conversation. I would say a couple of points specifically to the task. Farmers, they have never said, hey, I can't do this, I won't do the work necessary to make the corrective changes for both nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment. They have said two things. One is time is important and seasons are important, that there are certain things you can do once a year that then you have to wait till the next season before you can actually both make any more changes, of course, or see the benefits of that change. And they've also talked about resources, both their own resources and what they can do out of their own checkbook, but also state and federal resources. So whatever we can do to support both the state resources in our budget or DEP, and certainly be an advocate for additional appropriations from the federal government through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, EPA, I think is really important in that regard. For the farmers, we've got to keep encouraging them to do the right thing. And I think farmers do the right thing. If you just do the right thing, the water quality sort of takes care of itself, right? You get the cover crops on, you're good stewards, you get the setbacks, all of those things that we talk about and you note in terms of the best management practices. We need to keep encouraging that. We have to find, though, solutions that work for Pennsylvania. In a recent conversation with Carl Brown, the State Conservation Commission, our challenge is that the EPA likes to manage this watershed as in block, right? So all 5 states in the District of Columbia have to sort of live by the same rule. Anybody who's been to the Eastern Shore knows that that is a very different soil structure and a topography and a production system than we have in central Pennsylvania. Even though in the model where things count, in terms of whether we're winning or losing against the nutrient battle, they're counted the same. So what's a good example? What we do in Pennsylvania around sort of no-till planting is really critical to have that count differently in Pennsylvania than it does in the state of Maryland. Cover crops. Our cover crops really serve 2 roles. One is to keep the soil in place, and the other is to really be the nitrogen sponge that occurs over the winter. There are things that, to your point, what do we do differently? I think making sure that as a department and a government and a legislature that we are advocates for making sure Pennsylvania gets credit for what we're doing. 2, that there has to be some recognition that Pennsylvania is not Maryland or Virginia in terms of its structure, in terms of its soil, in terms of its practice. And recognizing that you're not going to get clean water without viable farms. There's no way. You won't get the first without the second. And we have to keep saying that to the EPA and the federal regulators, and even to our own farmers, by the way, is that they count and their work is important. But it's going to take a different sort of record-keeping system. It's going to take greater effort, no doubt, to make sure that we meet the goals set forth in the Watershed Implementation Plan. 2017 is sort of the midterm test, so we're going to know how we're doing at that point. But we're going to need additional resources, and whether they come from private sector in terms of foundations who want to see us do more, and or out of the state and federal government, that's going to be critical.
And I don't disagree with you on a point on any point. I just look forward to working together with you. We've already had a small Chesapeake Bay delegation meet with Director Hanger and communicate to him that I think we need a team approach. We can't have DEP doing one thing, Ag doing something else, Fish and Boat doing something else. You know, we need a plan for Pennsylvania. You know, right now I know that that out in farm country, you know, when DEP shows up at your farm and says, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help you," no disrespect to DEP, but that's, you know, that's they're known for enforcement, and enforcement doesn't make you want to, you know, open your arms and your farm to have somebody come in and inspect you. So I think we need to get agriculture, and through county conservation and through ag, you know, more on the point out there with farmers, doing the education, working with them as a team, and I look forward to doing that. And thank you for your time today. If you'd like to say anything else, that's great.
Yeah, I thank you for the question. There have been some great conversations with Dean Roush at Penn State, just looking at water quality initiative and how do we fully engage both the College of Agricultural Sciences but the larger university, and he has some great ideas of how to do that. On the teamwork, clearly for those who are involved in constructing the State Conservation Commission and having a rotating chairmanship between the Secretary of DEP and the Secretary of Agriculture, it is a great design. It forces this conversation between agriculture and the environmental community and the environmental community with agriculture. So we've got the right model. I think the piece that still needs some exploration is how do you bring in the other partners into that structure, right? Because you've got both the PennVest in terms of the nutrient trading, you have the U.S. Department of Agriculture involved in that, any number of stakeholders who really need to be in the conversation about solving the problem for the Chesapeake Bay, for water quality generally, but certainly in this case for the Chesapeake Bay. So look forward to working with you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.